Wipeout by the Surfaris. Starts with your third finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Makes a G note. Sounds like that. It's the same pitch as your open 3rd string. But we're going to play it here on the 5th fret of the 4th string for this video. Then you take your index finger, that's finger 1 for guitar players, and you go to the 3rd fret on the 3rd string. This makes an A sharp note. Sounds like that. You can also call it a B flat, but when we're going up, we'll call it an A sharp. So far we have 2 notes. G, A sharp. Now, something you should know about this song is that it does not start on the first beat of the first measure. It actually starts on the and of 3. That means that it starts on the second half of the 3rd beat. So when we're counting in the beginning, we're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And we'll start on the and of 3, the and that comes after 3. The next note after you play this A sharp is the 4th fret on the same string, the 3rd string. That makes a B note. Sounds like that, and it's the same pitch as your open 2nd string. They're a unison. So if we start from the beginning and play those 3 notes that we have so far, we'll get something like this. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B. Next, we take the 3rd finger and we go to the 5th fret on the same string, the 3rd string. This makes a C note. Sounds like that. And that gives us something called a chromaticism, which is when we have 3 notes, 1 fret apart from each other in a row. And that doesn't happen in any of the major or minor scales. So one of the notes is always going to be outside of the key signature in that case. So let's try from the beginning what we have so far. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B, C, C, C. So that 5th fret C note goes 3 times in a row. One more time. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B, C, C, C. After that, we go back to the 3rd fret note on the 3rd string, which we called A sharp before. But this time, since we're going down, we'll use the other name, the enharmonic equivalent name for A sharp, which is B flat. B flat, A sharp, they are enharmonic equivalents, which means that they're just different names for the same pitch. Let's add that to what we have so far. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat. Next, we go back to the note that we started on, which was the 5th fret on the 4th string, G. And that's the last note in the first riff. It then repeats, and it repeats 2 more times after that to do a total of 4 times. So you're going to play everything we just did 4 times in a row. So at this point, let's try doing that together. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G. Now we start again, same note. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, and repeating again a third time. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, and the last time a fourth time. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G. Nice job. After that, we go to the 5th fret. Sorry about that. The 5th fret on the next string, which is the C that we played earlier. Only this time, we're going to use the 2nd finger. So we're changing position. We started here with our 1st finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd finger on the 4th fret, 3rd finger on the 5th fret. They call this 3rd position. But for the next part, we're going to go up 1 fret with all our fingers, which now puts us into 4th position, wherever the 1st finger is what gives us the position name. In this case, this is the 4th position. But we start with this 5th fret on the 3rd string, the C note. After that, our 1st finger goes to the 4th fret on the 2nd string to make a D sharp. Sounds like that. From here, we have another chromaticism. We take the 2nd finger and we go to the 5th fret on that same string, makes an E note, and then the 3rd finger goes to the 6th fret on that same string, makes an F note. And just like we did earlier when we reached the highest note in the previous pattern, we pick this note 3 times, this F. So for the second part so far, starting with the 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, we'll have something that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3. C, D sharp, E, F, F, F. So it's the same melody as the first part so far, except that it's up by an interval of a 4th. That has nothing to do with how many frets up we're going on the guitar. Basically, it means that it's 5 semitones higher than the previous part in pitch. After that, we lift the 3rd finger and go back to the 4th fret on the 2nd string, which is our D sharp from before. But this time, since we're going down, we'll use the flat name, which is E flat. So again, we have another set of enharmonic equivalents, different names for the same pitch. You can call this D sharp, or you can call it E flat, depending on where it resolves to after. In this case, going down, the E flat will resolve as a minor 3rd back down to C. So what I mean by that is after you play this note, you go back to the 5th fret on your 3rd string to play the C again. And then that whole pattern repeats, but this time only 1 time. So let's try doing this second part of Wipeout 2 times in a row. 1 and 2 and 3. C, D sharp, E, F, 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 E flat, C, and repeat it, same note again. C, D sharp, E, F, 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 E flat, C, Nice job. So if we put what we have together now, the first riff and the second riff, we'll get something that sounds like this. Remember, the first riff goes 4 times and the second riff only goes 2 times. 1 and 2 and 3. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, that's 2 times, G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, that's 3 times last time now, G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G, now second finger, 5th fret on the 3rd string, C, D sharp, E, F, 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 E flat, C, repeat it, C, D sharp, E, F, 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 E flat, C. Nice job. At this point, we repeat the first riff again 2 more times. But this time, rather than bringing the 3rd finger over here to the 5th fret on the 4th string, which can be a bit awkward given the position of the 2nd finger, we're going to play it in another place. We'll just play the open G string this time as our first note. Then we'll go continuing with the riff on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. A sharp, 2nd finger on 4th fret, B, 3rd finger on 5th fret, C, 2 more times, C, C, back to the 3rd fret, B flat, and let's go back to the 5th fret on the 4th string this time. G, repeat the riff from there, G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G. So what you've had so far, I'll play at full speed to give you some context. You've had the first riff 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Then the second riff twice. Here's the second time. Back to the first riff twice. From there, we're going to go to the equivalent of the 5 chord. For what it's worth, this pattern is a 12-bar blues, which means that you go through the equivalent of the 1 chord for 4 times. That's why we did the first riff 4 times in a row. Then you go to the 4 chord, and you do that for 2 measures, which is why we did the second riff 2 times in a row. Then you go back to the 1 chord for 2 more measures, and that's why we did the first riff again 2 times in a row. Now, to get to the equivalent of the 5 chord, you must go 2 frets higher than you were for the 4 chord. So higher in pitch, meaning closer to the body of the guitar, like this. So at this point, our index finger, the pointer, the finger 1, is on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and the 2nd finger, the middle finger, is on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Makes a D note. That's what it sounds like. You're now going to play the same pattern that you did for the second riff 1 time here in this position, and that will look something like this. That's 1 time, and just so you have the note names, this note here that you're on is D. D. Your index finger goes to the 6th fret on the next string, that's an F. F. 2nd finger comes down on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, giving you an F sharp. And the 3rd finger comes here to the 8th fret on the 2nd string, giving you a G. And you play that riff 1 time, you play the G 3 times rather. Back to your F on the 6th fret, and to your D. That's one time for that riff. Then after that, you're going to do something you haven't done before. You'll play this note D on the 7th fret of your 3rd string, and then you're going to skip. You're going to do your 3rd finger now on the 8th fret of the 2nd string immediately after that, which is your G. So far for this part you have something that sounds like this. D, F, F sharp, G, 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 F, D. Here comes the new part. D, G. Rest by putting your pick on that 2nd string. Then you guide down. That means your fingers stay on the same strings and you just move them down 1 fret, 2 frets. You're back in 4th position. Your 3rd finger is on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. That makes an F note. You're going to pick that note 3 times now. F, F, F. Lift the 3rd finger, give way to the 1st finger on the 4th fret of that same 2nd string. E flat. Then you have your 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string to play a C note again. So all of that we just did up here in the 6th position will sound like this. D, F, F sharp, G, 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 F, D, D, G. Rest guide down. F, 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 E flat, C. From there you play the original riff 1 time through. You can substitute the 1st note on the 5th fret of the 4th string with the open G if you like. G, A sharp, B, C, 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 B flat, G. And now for the last part of the riff, you pick that G again, then you roll the 3rd finger flat so that it gets the 5th fret on your 3rd string. C. Go to the 3rd fret on that same 3rd string to get the B flat with your index finger. And then you go back to your G on your 5th fret of your 4th string, and you play that 8 times in a row like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and that last chord that I played there that starts the part with the drum solo is your index finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That makes a C note. Sounds like that, and you leave your 3rd finger where it was on the G. So you play those 2 strings together, the 4th and 5th strings. And that creates something called a C5. It's an interval of a 5th. Guitar players call it a power chord. C5 power chord. Hope this video was helpful, and check out the next one for where we practice the riff together. Bye now. Happy practicing.